Welcome, Star Warriors. Welcome to the one show across the galaxy where you can get the unadulterated truth from the Dark Lord himself. Vader says. I'm Darth Exotron, and today we're going to be discussing with Darth Vader another Rian Johnson article where he makes another dumb statement. But first, I want to get Darth Vader's unadulterated opinion about Star Wars The Last Jedi. What do you think, Dark Lord?
That film was bonkers.
Okay, short to the point. I like it. Maybe someday we'll get your opinion on just exactly why you feel that way. But for now, we're going to turn to some more of not Darth Vader, but Rian Johnson's ridiculous comments on The Last Jedi from this article that I'm about to read, and then afterwards we will get Darth Vader's commentary. So, the title of the article is The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson considered bringing Lando back. Yes, folks, you heard it. Rian Johnson considered bringing Lando back into Star Wars in The Last Jedi. And it says, Rian Johnson briefly considered bringing Lando Calrissian back for Star Wars Episode 8 The Last Jedi. Billy D. Williams played the smuggler-turned-rebellion general and former owner of the Millennium Falcon in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but his current whereabouts are unknown in Lucasfilm's Star Wars sequel trilogy. He hasn't been mentioned once in either J.J. Abrams' Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. Given that the Resistance is at the edge of their hope in both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, it would make sense for Lando to be fighting alongside his friends and former allies, including his former co-pilot Nien Nunb, in their battle with the First Order. But that wasn't the case. Han Solo went back to smuggling, and Luke Skywalker sat out the first Jedi Temple, not only to live out the rest of his days, but to end the Jedi Order as well. So, there wasn't any room for Lando to come back. But considering that the First Order now reigns across the galaxy, perhaps now is the best time to bring Han's old buddy back into the fold. As it turns out, Johnson initially thought the same thing, but he couldn't make it work. In an interview with Yahoo Movies, Rian Johnson said he considered bringing back Lando Calrissian for The Last Jedi, possibly for the role of the master codebreaker that Finn and Rose try to find on the casino planet Canto Bight, but instead come across another codebreaker, DJ. Oh, you guys can see where this is going, can't you? Back to the reading. And I quote from Rian Johnson, "Believe me, I thought I was about bringing Lando back. Believe me, I did, and it just wouldn't work. For reasons I can't really talk about without getting into spoilers, Lando, even in the position of any just specific story reason that he would not have worked, like in the capacity of the DJ part, Benicio's part. There's a reason that had to be a new character and couldn't just be Lando." End of quote. Interestingly, though, Hamill thought having Lando as the master codebreaker who plays at high-stakes tables on Canto Bight would be brilliant. After all, Lando's quite the gambler. Beginning of another quote, Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon in a game of chance with Lando. You think he'd be the casino boss? I love Billy D. Williams, and you're right. I think anyone who's still around that had anything to do with the original trilogy deserves to come back in some way. I'm not sure if that's a quote from Mark Hamill or if it's a quote from Rian Johnson. But let's continue with the reading. Considering that Lando never showed much inclination for code breaking, Johnson's reasons certainly make sense with regard to the overarching narrative. But it's hard not to think that the film's last act doesn't set up a way for Billy D. Williams to return to the fold as Lando Calrissian in Abrams' upcoming sequel, Star Wars Episode 9. For now, though, Star Wars fans can look forward to seeing Donald Glover portray a young Lando in Ron Howard's 2018 film, Solo. People, did you catch the obvious there? I'll read it in a second, but I just, before I read it, I just have to let that sink in. Wow. Rian Johnson had it in his head for Lando Calrissian to be Benicio del Toro's character, DJ. The guy who betrayed Finn and Rose to the First Order. You can't do any better than that? I mean, seriously, there was no room for Lando? I mean, and if there was no room for him in reality, okay, fine. I wasn't really looking for Lando to be in this movie. It never really dawned on me at all to think about that until seeing this article. But, to say it's either Benicio del Toro's character or bust? How ridiculous. I mean, maybe it's this is a good thing, people. Maybe it's just like I didn't see a good opportunity to kill this character in this movie, so I didn't bring him back. You know, I mean, they did kill Ian Numb, right? I've only seen this movie once, so I can't really remember if he died on the bridge of that flagship with Admiral Akbar, and you know, with what almost happened to Leia and the rest of the command staff. So maybe it's a good thing that freaking Rian Johnson didn't touch Lando. You know, the more the more I think about it, the more I think he actually made a good decision for once. This is the first time I've ever agreed with Rian Johnson on anything, I believe. Yeah, don't bring back Lando. If I never find out what happened to Lando, I'll be better off than I was when I found out what happened to Han and Luke and Leia. Jesus, I mean, here's the thing. George Lucas has killed so many characters in Star Wars over the years. And really, none of their deaths were all that disappointing. Obi-Wan's death was great. Yoda's death was great. Of course, these characters were created. They were conceived to die these deaths. Rian Johnson didn't create anyone. I mean, he just came in, took characters that were created decades ago by someone who was like a really good storyteller and an okay director and a passing writer, and just said, well, you know, I mean, Han Solo wasn't conceived to die ever, but you know, I'm just gonna throw away this character. Of course, that was J.J. Abrams saying that, but you know, J.J. Abrams is very culpable in a lot of things that Rian Johnson has done. Just not really fulfilling the character to their potentials. He's never been into that. He never really fulfilled any of the Star Trek characters' their potential, as far as I'm concerned. And he gets a hold of Star Wars, and the same thing happens. Everything is a lot more mundane than it used to be in J.J. Abrams' movies. Except for his new characters. The ones he came up with, you know, are usually pretty good, unless you give them to Rian Johnson, in which case they're pretty bad. But anyway, let's get Darth Vader's comments on Lando being a traitor once again.
I'm altering the deal. I'll miss even take Rian Johnson to my ship. Pray I don't alter it any further. I would hate to have to leave the garrison here.
So I think the Dark Lord is unimpressed with Rian Johnson's lack of creativity with characters in the Star Wars universe in general, just like all of the rest of us are. So, if you like the way I do this, share my video across the galaxy, like, subscribe, and comment below. You are the rebellion. You are the rebellion. You are the rebellion. You are the rebellion.